March 27, 1977, a date that will forever be etched in the annals of aviation history. This date marks the darkest day in aviation history. It was a day when the skies turned somber, and the world watched in horror as a catastrophic event unfolded. On this day, two Boeing 747s collided on the runway at Tenerife Airport in the Canary Islands. These were not just any planes, they were massive, state-of-the-art aircraft, each carrying hundreds of passengers. 583 people lost their lives. The magnitude of this loss is almost incomprehensible. Families were torn apart, and communities were left in mourning. The Tenerife Airport disaster, as it came to be known, remains the deadliest aviation accident to this day. The wreckage strewn across the runway was a grim testament to the scale of the tragedy. This tragedy serves as a stark reminder of the importance of aviation safety. Over the years, it has prompted significant changes in how we approach air travel, ensuring that such a disaster never happens again. The events of that day were a confluence of unfortunate circumstances. A series of seemingly minor issues cascaded into a full-blown catastrophe. A bomb threat had caused several planes to be diverted to Tenerife, leading to an overcrowded airport. The situation was already tense and chaotic, and dense fog all played a role. The thick fog that enveloped the runway made visibility almost zero, adding to the confusion and difficulty of the situation. But at the heart of the disaster was human error. The pilots, under immense pressure, made critical mistakes. The air traffic controllers, overwhelmed by the situation, also faltered. Miscommunication and misunderstandings between the pilots and air traffic control proved fatal. In the chaos, crucial instructions were misheard or ignored, leading to the tragic collision. The Tenerife Airport disaster is a story of tragedy but also a story of lessons learned. In the aftermath, the aviation industry took a hard look at its practices and made sweeping changes. Today, the protocols and safety measures in place are a direct result of the lessons learned from that fateful day. The memory of those who perished serves as a constant reminder of the importance of vigilance, communication, and safety in the skies. The Canary Islands are a popular tourist destination, known for their stunning beaches, vibrant culture, and year-round pleasant climate. Every year, millions of tourists flock to these islands to enjoy the sun, sand, and sea, making it one of the most visited archipelagos in the world. They are located off the coast of Africa, specifically in the Atlantic Ocean, and are an autonomous community of Spain. The islands are strategically positioned, making them a significant hub for both tourism and aviation. On March 27, 1977, two Boeing 747s were scheduled to land at Gran Canaria Airport. These massive aircraft, known for their size and capacity, were carrying hundreds of passengers each. One plane belonged to Pan Am, a major American airline that was a pioneer in international air travel. The other belonged to KLM, the flag carrier airline of the Netherlands, known for its extensive European and intercontinental routes. A bomb threat at the airport threw everything into chaos. The airport was evacuated, causing panic and confusion among passengers and staff. Security forces were on high alert, and the situation was tense. Incoming flights were diverted to Los Rodeos Airport on the nearby island of Tenerife. This sudden change in plans added to the already stressful situation for both the passengers and the airline crews. Los Rodeos was a smaller airport not designed to handle the volume of traffic that was suddenly thrust upon it. The facilities were limited, and the staff was unprepared for such an influx. It was not equipped to handle the sudden influx of large aircraft. The runways and taxiways quickly became congested with planes, creating a bottleneck that further complicated the situation. The diverted planes crowded the taxiways and runways, adding to the tension. Pilots and air traffic controllers were under immense pressure to manage the situation safely, but the overcrowded conditions made it extremely challenging. The stage was set for a disaster that would become one of the deadliest aviation accidents in history. The diversion to Tenerife was just the beginning of the problems. A dense fog rolled in, reducing visibility. Communication difficulties arose between the pilots and the air traffic controllers. The controllers spoke Spanish, while the pilots spoke English. This language barrier contributed to misunderstandings. The KLM captain was eager to get back in the air. He had already experienced significant delays. He began taxiing his plane for takeoff without explicit clearance from air traffic control. This critical error would have devastating consequences. Both the KLM and Pan Am 747s were positioned on the same runway. The fog was so thick that neither crew could see the other plane. The KLM captain, thinking he had clearance, initiated his takeoff roll. He was unaware that the Pan Am jet was still on the runway. In the control tower, the air traffic controllers were trying to guide the Pan Am jet off the runway. But their instructions were unclear. The combination of fog, misunderstandings, and the KLM's premature takeoff roll set the stage for disaster. Section 5, The Crash and its Devastating Aftermath. The KLM jet, traveling at high speed, slammed into the side of the Pan Am 747. The impact was catastrophic. The collision occurred on the Foggy Runway of Tenerife North Airport, where visibility was severely limited. Both planes were attempting to take off, unaware of each other's presence due to the dense fog and miscommunications between the control tower and the pilots. The KLM plane's fuselage was ripped apart. The force of the collision was so immense that it tore through the aircraft's structure, scattering debris across the runway. The sound of the impact echoed through the airport, a harrowing reminder of the disaster that had just unfolded. The Pan Am jet burst into flames. The fire spread rapidly, fueled by the jet's full tanks of fuel, creating an inferno that engulfed the aircraft. Passengers and crew members were trapped inside with little chance of escape as the flames consumed the plane. The crash killed everyone on board the KLM flight. The loss was immediate and absolute, with no survivors from the Dutch airline. Families and friends of the passengers were left in shock and grief, struggling to comprehend the sudden and tragic loss of their loved ones. Only 61 people on the Pan Am flight survived. These survivors were the fortunate few who managed to escape the burning wreckage, many of them suffering from severe injuries and burns. Their survival stories are a testament to human resilience and the will to live, even in the face of overwhelming odds. In total, 583 people perished. The scale of the tragedy was almost incomprehensible, with hundreds of lives lost in an instant. Memorials were erected to honor the victims, their names etched in stone as a permanent reminder of the lives cut short by the disaster. It was the deadliest aviation accident in history. The magnitude of the crash sent shockwaves through the aviation industry, prompting widespread changes in safety protocols and communication procedures to prevent such a tragedy from ever happening again. The world was stunned by the tragedy. News of the crash spread rapidly, with people around the globe tuning in to hear the latest updates. The images of the burning wreckage and the stories of the victims and survivors left a lasting impact on all who witnessed the aftermath. Rescue workers arrived to a horrific scene. The first responders were met with a landscape of devastation, with burning debris and injured survivors scattered across the runway. Their efforts to save lives were heroic, but the scale of the disaster made their task incredibly challenging. The wreckage of the two planes was engulfed in flames. The intense heat and smoke made it difficult for rescue teams to approach the site, and the risk of further explosions added to the danger. Despite these obstacles, the responders worked tirelessly to extinguish the fires and search for survivors. The dense fog made the rescue efforts even more difficult. Visibility was severely limited, complicating the already challenging task of navigating the crash site. The fog had been a contributing factor to the collision, and now it hindered the efforts to save lives and recover the victims. Section 6. The Long Road to Recovery. The investigation into the Tenerife airport disaster was complex and lengthy. It involved multiple countries and aviation authorities. The investigation revealed a series of errors and contributing factors that led to the crash. The investigation found that the KLM captain's decision to begin his takeoff roll without clearance was the primary cause of the accident. However, the investigation also identified other contributing factors. These included the communication problems, the dense fog, and the runway congestion. Section 7. Lessons learned and implemented. The Tenerife airport disaster led to significant changes in the aviation industry. New safety protocols were implemented to prevent similar tragedies. One of the most important changes was the standardization of phraseology in air traffic control communications. This standardized phraseology helped to reduce the risk of misunderstandings between pilots and controllers. The disaster also highlighted the importance of crew resource management, or CRM. CRM training emphasizes teamwork, communication, and decision-making in the cockpit. Section 8. Tenerife. Compared to other aviation disasters, the Tenerife airport disaster remains the deadliest aviation accident in history. However, there have been other major aviation disasters that have also had a profound impact on the industry. These include the Japan Airlines Flight 123 crash in 1985 and the Charkhi-Dadri mid-air collision in 1996. Each of these accidents has led to improvements in aviation safety. By studying these tragedies, the aviation industry has been able to identify and address safety risks. Section 9. The enduring importance of aviation safety. The Tenerife airport disaster serves as a constant reminder of the importance of aviation safety. The lessons learned from this tragedy continue to shape the industry today. By implementing rigorous safety protocols, improving communication, and fostering a culture of safety, the aviation industry strives to prevent future disasters and ensure the safety of all who fly.